Yo, it's Go, and welcome to the video. I'm going to go over how to parse in the Spider Wing in 25-man Naxx boss by boss. Starting with Anub'rekhan. It's a quick fight. Our guild got it down in just under a minute and a half. So really quick fight. It's only going to get faster and faster. Damage done to the guards, the two guards next to the boss, does count towards the parse. So getting those stacked is up to your tanks. So if they're spread apart or not stacked on top of each other, it's going to be less damage from Starfall, and this is going to affect your parse. So something that doesn't count towards the parse is the little scarabs if somebody dies. So don't worry about those things. Just focus on the boss and the two guards. If you are having a longer fight and you're getting into that phase 2 where the boss needs to be kited around the room, position yourself towards the right side of the room at the start of the fight, because the boss always goes that way. So if you do have to kite the boss around the room, you can hopefully just turret, pivot, and continue to attack the boss. The knock-up mechanic hasn't been working correctly. It's been hitting only the tank. So if they fix that and it starts to hit people up into the air and you get knocked up, use your instant cast, use your Typhoon. You might not get a 99 if you get knocked up like that, but that's the only thing I can think of besides getting aggro on the two adds that might proc Alkin Frenzy. So possible cheese if they fix that mechanic, but you'll be knocked up for most of the Alkin Frenzy. So I'm a big fan of that talent, so that's why I always bring it up. So with the fight length getting that short, the Starfall glyph loses a bit of value, but there aren't really that many options to replace it. There's not really pushback on that fight, so having the Glyph of Wrath wouldn't help too much. Glyph of Innervate, it's not long enough, so wouldn't need that glyph either. But something I'm trying out tonight is idol swapping. So if that is a thing and it's adding some DPS into the rotation by swapping idols, then Moonfire is going to be back in the rotation. So having the Glyph of Insect Swarm and Moonfire along with Focus could be the top 3 glyphs on that fight. We'll have to just wait and see. But currently the top DPS is over 9k DPS. Boss number 2, Grand Widow. Damage to the worshippers doesn't count, but the followers, it does count. Just like the first boss, it's going to depend on how your tanks position all of the adds. If everything's stacked up that counts towards the parse, Starfall is going to really carry this fight, just like Anub. Poison Bolt Volley can proc Alkin Frenzy. I had one proc during a minute 30-second fight, so that was 11% uptime with 10% damage. So if you're trying to parse on this fight, I do recommend Alkin Frenzy. At least 2 points. 3 if you can spare it somehow. And since, again, the fight is pretty short, you'll be able to drop Glyph of Starfall eventually, and maybe, again, Glyph of Wrath. Just in case you have the Rain of Fire come down in your position, maybe you can just stand there and tank it and continue to cast with that Glyph of Wrath if you're in a solar phase. Because who wants to move? That's just downtime of casting. But pretty quick fight. It's kind of out of your hands whether or not you parse, depending on how the tanks position all those adds. So good luck. And this is a fight you do need to burn. If you're mind controlling some of the adds, that's gonna slow the fight down kind of and lower your DPS. So if you're not mind controlling anything and you're just pumping, that's how you'll get the parse. And right now the highest parse was about 8,800 DPS, which is a little bit lower than a noob, but it's also a trickier fight to position those adds. And lastly, we have Maexxna, the final boss in the Spider Wing. If you were like me and you were holding your cooldowns for the Spiderlings, I've got good news. Spiderlings don't count towards the parse. No need to hold Starfall for 20 or 30 seconds when they come out. Just pop it right away. Most likely you'll get 2 uses out of it. Between the first and second web wrap, you should get your second Starfall. Right now we have 2 web wraps. The first one at 40 seconds, the second one at a minute 20. So I think those guilds that only have 1 web wrap are gonna have that bit of an advantage. You're not getting stunned twice. So the quicker this fight goes, the better for your parse. I've noticed that Alkin Frenzy does proc from that mechanic, and possibly something else. I'm not sure what else caused it to proc, but I got 2 procs last week. So I had an 18% uptime with Alkin Frenzy. So other than forgetting about trying to time a Typhoon or a perfectly timed grenade to get those Spiderlings down and keeping dots up during the stun, that's it for Maexxna and the Spider Wing in Naxx. And just for reference, the highest boomy parse was 7400 DPS and only had one web wrap because it was a minute 17-second fight. I hope these tips helped. I'll be getting to the other wings and Naxx here pretty soon.